Hey everybody, welcome back. We're continuing our reading of the Tafseer. We were dealing with Surah Al-Baqarah 75 through 78, and we're on page 98. Let's continue. If this is how they are with regard to their own book, which they regard as a source of great pride and honor, and is the basis of their religion, yet they took it as a means to turn people away from the path of Allah, then how can it be hoped that they would believe in respect to your call? That is highly unlikely. Again, I like the flow he has, how he ends his sentences. Then Allah describes the condition of the hypocrites among the people of the book. When they meet the believers, they say, "We too believe." They pretend to be believers, and they paid lip service to a faith that was not in their hearts. See, that's what I try to avoid, right? It's like you have to, if you're paying lip service, you have to really mean it, you know? But when they meet one another in private, and no one else is present other than their co-religionists, they say to one another, "Why are you telling them what Allah has disclosed to you of the description of the Prophet in the Torah? That is, why do you pretend to believe and tell them that you are like them, when that will be proof for them against you? Because they will say, they affirmed that what we are following is truth, and what they are following is falsehood." So if you you can't play both sides, essentially. You have to be authentic. Thus they, the believers, will use that against you before your Lord. So notice that's interesting. You're going to pay lip service. You're not going to just get away with that. You're going to be judged for it, and believers will actually be able to use that against your accounting. Wow, interesting. Have you no sense? That is, do you not have the sense to stop doing that which may be used against you? See, that's a cool thing too, is when you think about it. It's like, stop doing what's going to be put against you. That is what they say to one another. Do they not realize that Allah knows what they conceal and what they disclose? So even though they conceal what they believe and kept it to themselves, and thought that they, by being discreet, they would be able to avoid giving the believers any argument to use against them, they were wrong and very ignorant, for Allah knew what they concealed and what they disclosed. So He exposed their true nature to His slaves. So the Creator exposing the true selves, right? So this is another thing, right? Is you might have a deferred recompense, but it's coming nonetheless, right? And there are among them, that is, among the people of the book, unlettered people, that is, common folk, who are not knowledgeable, who have no knowledge of the book, except wishful thinking. That is, they have no share of the book of Allah except recitation that they hear. They know nothing about what the early generations had of true knowledge of it. See, that's why I want to learn about it, right? You know, that's the thing. It's like, people might be curious, like, why do you want to dig deeper? Can't you just only read the Quran and that's it? But it's like, no. You want to know everything, because that adds more context and value thereof that you can extract truth from. In these verses, Allah mentions their scholars, common folk, hypocrites, and those among them who were not hypocrites. The scholars among them were adhering to their false and misguided religion, and the common folk were blindly following them, with no insight, so there was no hope that either of the two groups would believe in your message. Aha, that is interesting. The common folk, the peasants, the masses, no insight. So, what do you need from that? You need insight, right? Don't be blind. You need that. Don't just be in the flow. Don't just be in the mass. So there was no hope that either the two of the groups would believe in your message. So having hope in something that's blind is quite difficult, right? Okay, now 279. Then woe to those who write the scripture with their own hands, and then say, This is from Allah, in order to trade it for a small price. Woe to them for what their hands have written, and woe to them for what they have earned thereby. Aha, so somebody making up scripture, right? You're going to be punished for that. Just can't make things up. Here, Allah, glory be to Him, is warning that those who distort the scriptures and say of the distortion and what they write, this is from Allah. In fact, this is propagating falsehood and concealing truth. Propagating falsehood, amplifying fake news, fake things, concealing truth, censoring, blacklisting. Now, in the past they wrote, right? Today it's kind of like very digital, so digital I would definitely count as well. But they did that knowingly in order to trade it for a small price. All this world, from beginning to end, is a small price. I like the way he said that. That's very unique. This world, from beginning to end, it's a small price. They made their falsehood a means of snatching what is in people's hands. Thus they wronged the people on 2 counts. They confused them with regard to their religion, and they took their wealth unlawfully by the worst of means, which is worse than those who take people's wealth by force or by stealing and so on. So, because they got a double whammy. Confused because they'll be not rightly guided, essentially, right? And they'll make more mistakes, and they'll have an inaccurate perception of what they must do. So, yes, fair point. Hence, Allah warned them about these 2 things and said, woe to them for what their hands have written of distortion and falsehood, and woe to them for what they have earned thereby of wealth. So earthly wealth, like you may have got that mini earthly gain, but you will not essentially get away with it thereof. What is meant by woe is severe punishment and loss. This is a stern warning indeed. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, when discussing this passage, do you, O believers, then hope for what they have earned thereby? Okay, I never heard of Shaykh al... Wait, no! Islam... Wait a minute, because some people say Muslim. They say, oh, Muslim. Is that the same? Remember, there's a guy, a scholar, who's called Muslim, right? Now, is that the same one? Did they switch Islam and the word Muslim interchangeably for that same scholar, or are these 2 distinct scholars? Let me know, fam. Allah condemned those who distorted words, and this includes those who explain or teach the Qur'an and Sunnah on the basis of innovation, bid'ah. Innovation is bid'ah. Oh, interesting. Yes. Okay, that makes complete sense. He also condemned those who have no knowledge of the book except wishful thinking. This applies to those who do not ponder the meanings of the Quran and know nothing of it except mere recitation of its letters. So you can't, not just surface level, you gotta go deep in. You gotta do your analysis and synthesizing thereof. It also applies to those who write anything with their hands that is contrary to the Book of Allah for the purpose of worldly gain, such as saying that this is from Allah, or this is Islam, or this is what the Quran and Sunnah say, or this is the understanding of the early generations and leading scholars, or this is one of the basic matters of religion that every individual and the entire Ummah must believe. It also applies to those who conceal what they know of the Quran and Sunnah, so that the one who differs from him concerning the truth will not use his words as evidence against him. So purposely hiding it, restricting your knowledge back. These are matters that are very common among the followers of whims and desires in general, such as the Rafidis, and also among many of those who claim to be scholars. Okay, what's a Rafidi? Okay, there's a footnote here, footnote number 9. The Rafidis are the extremists. Oh, I see. Okay, this is like his opinion, right? Okay, I got it. I think this is like fair point, but uh, I'll just leave that there because I don't want to. I'll read it myself, and you can read it later, but we won't read it on the channel. That way, they don't punish us for something, for causing tension or anything. But I'll read it on my own. But indeed, okay. So, essentially, from what we got from the reading is, you cannot write anything and then say Allah said it, which is pretty standard. If you already have a good honorable character, you shouldn't do that anyways. But again, it's reiterating the fact that Allah sees everything we do. We need to make sure our actions are ethical, good, and that we follow people who are not just making up things, right? Interesting.